When 28-year-old sustainable fashion activist Imani Carter walked into the Stella McCartney boutique in New York's Soho district and tried on a new organic wool blazer, sales associate Victoria Monroe gave her a condescending smile. "That jacket is $4,800. I hope you read the price tag." Imani calmly replied, "Yes, I can see it." Victoria sighed and added, "Look, a lot of people come here just to take pictures for social media, but never buy anything. If you're not serious, I'd rather not waste your time." Imani quietly took off the jacket and left the store, humiliated but composed. What Victoria didn't know was that Imani wasn't just a customer. She had been chosen as the global face of Stella McCartney's upcoming Sustainable Future campaign. 2 days later, she would walk into the brand's launch event wearing that very blazer, representing the company's values on stage. When the campaign's opening video showed Victoria's dismissive behavior, her career, reputation, and the brand's apology video went viral overnight. Before the story begins, drop a comment. Which city are you watching from? And if you stand for justice and equality, share this story and subscribe, because together, our voices are stronger. The afternoon sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Stella McCartney's Soho flagship store, illuminating racks of sustainable luxury fashion with an almost ethereal glow. The boutique occupied a corner building on Green Street, its minimalist interior designed to showcase the brand's commitment to conscious luxury. Organic fabrics, innovative vegan materials, and designs that proved ethics and elegance weren't mutually exclusive. Imani Carter paused outside the store, taking a moment to admire the window display featuring the new fall collection. At 28, Imani had become one of the most influential voices in sustainable fashion, building a platform of 1.8 million Instagram followers who looked to her for authentic perspectives on ethical consumption, slow fashion, and the intersection of style and environmental responsibility. Her journey had started in Harlem, where her grandmother had taught her to sew, transforming thrift store finds into unique pieces that told stories. That early training evolved into formal education at Parsons School of Design, where Imani's senior thesis on circular fashion economies had caught the attention of industry leaders. But Imani had consistently refused to work with fast fashion brands or luxury labels she viewed as greenwashing, until Stella McCartney reached out. Stella McCartney was different. The brand had been pioneering sustainable luxury for decades, refusing to use leather or fur long before it was trendy, investing in innovative materials like mushroom leather and recycled ocean plastic. When they approached Imani to become the face of their new Sustainable Future campaign, she'd initially been skeptical. But after months of conversations, facility tours, and transparent discussions about supply chains and labor practices, Imani had agreed. The campaign would launch in 2 days at a major industry event. Imani would be more than a model. She'd be a brand ambassador, an activist voice, a representation of the generation demanding better from fashion. The centerpiece of the campaign was a stunning jacket made from innovative biofabricated wool, a breakthrough material that required no animal products and minimal environmental impact. Today, Imani had come to the Soho flagship for a final fitting and to experience the retail environment firsthand. She wanted to understand how customers interacted with the sustainable collection, how the story was being told at the point of sale. She dressed casually. Vintage Levi's jeans, a thrifted oversized hoodie, and her favorite sneakers, the authentic style that had made her relatable to millions of followers who couldn't afford designer wardrobes but valued conscious choices. Victoria Monroe looked up from the sales desk as Imani entered, her trained eye immediately assessing the new customer. 34 years old with 7 years at Stella McCartney's flagship, Victoria prided herself on her ability to read customers quickly, identifying serious buyers, spotting potential problems, and efficiently managing her time to maximize sales commissions. What Victoria saw when Imani walked in didn't match her mental profile of a Stella McCartney customer. Young, black, dressed in streetwear rather than designer labels, no obvious luxury accessories, and carrying herself with the casual confidence Victoria had learned to interpret as not serious about purchasing. Imani moved through the store, her fingers trailing across fabrics, her eye catching on the innovative materials and clean lines. She found the bio-fabricated wool jacket displayed on a mannequin near the back, the exact piece she'd be wearing for the campaign launch. In person, it was even more beautiful than in photos. A rich camel color, impeccable tailoring, the fabric having an almost impossibly soft texture that belied its high-tech origins. "May I help you?" Victoria's voice carried professional courtesy, but her body language remained guarded, positioned protectively near the most expensive pieces. "Yes, thank you," Imani replied with a warm smile. "I'd like to try on this jacket, please." Victoria's eyebrows rose slightly as she noted the price tag, $4,800. "Of course. Are you familiar with this particular piece?" "I've been following the sustainable collection," Imani said honestly. "The bio-fabricated wool is fascinating." "It is," Victoria agreed, though her tone suggested she doubted Imani's understanding of the technology. "And as you've probably noticed, it's priced accordingly. The production process is quite innovative and costly. This jacket is $4,800. She emphasized the price deliberately, watching Imani's face for signs of sticker shock. "Yes, I saw the price tag," Imani said calmly. "May I try it on?" Victoria hesitated for just a moment, a pause that spoke volumes about her assumptions. "Certainly. What size are you looking for?" As Victoria retrieved the jacket in Imani's size, she couldn't help adding, "You know, we get a lot of customers, especially younger ones, who come in to photograph pieces for social media. It's great for brand awareness, of course, but we do need to preserve the integrity of our inventory for serious buyers." The implication was clear. Are you here to actually purchase, or just for Instagram content? Imani felt the familiar sting of being prejudged, of having her intentions questioned based on her appearance. But years of navigating predominantly white fashion spaces had taught her to respond with grace rather than confrontation. "I understand," she said simply, accepting the jacket Victoria handed her. In the fitting room, Imani slipped on the jacket. The fit was perfect. She'd been measured weeks ago for the campaign, and this was the exact size she'd wear at the launch. The fabric moved beautifully, the cut was impeccable, and seeing herself in it made the upcoming campaign feel suddenly, powerfully real. She stepped out to examine herself in the three-way mirror, turning to see the drape from different angles. The jacket transformed her casual outfit, proving the Stella McCartney philosophy that sustainable luxury elevated everything it touched. Victoria watched with poorly concealed skepticism. "It looks lovely on you," she said, the compliment feeling obligatory rather than genuine. "Though I should mention, our return policy on items in this price range is quite strict. We only accept returns within 7 days, unworn with all tags attached, and there's a 15% restocking fee." "I'm not concerned about returns," Imani said, still studying her reflection. "It's just that we've had situations where younger customers get excited about a piece, purchase it, and then experience buyer's remorse once they see their credit card statement." Victoria continued, her voice taking on a tone that straddled the line between helpful and condescending. $4,800 is a significant investment, especially for someone your age. I always encourage customers to really think about whether a piece fits their lifestyle and, frankly, their budget. Imani turned to look at Victoria directly. "And what makes you think this doesn't fit my budget?" Victoria's face flushed slightly, realizing she'd crossed a line. "I'm not making assumptions about your finances. I'm simply saying that this price point is typically beyond what most people in their 20s can comfortably afford. I'm trying to be helpful." "Helpful," Imani repeated, the word carrying weight. "By questioning whether I can afford something I've asked to try on? By suggesting I'm here for Instagram photos rather than actual shopping? By assuming my age and appearance tell you everything about my financial situation?" "That's not what I meant," Victoria started, but Imani interrupted gently. "It's exactly what you meant. And I'm sure you say similar things to other young customers who don't fit your image of who shops here, particularly young Black customers." Victoria's face went from flushed to pale. I would never. That's not about race. That's about. About what? Imani asked, her voice still calm, but carrying steel now. About professional assessment? About protecting inventory? Or about the assumptions you make when you see someone who looks like me in a space you've decided belongs to someone else? The store had gone quiet. Another customer browsing nearby had stopped to listen, uncomfortable with the tension but unwilling to intervene. Ma'am, I apologize if I've offended you, Victoria said, her professional training kicking in even as her defensiveness remained evident. That certainly wasn't my intention. I treat all customers equally and with respect. Do you? Imani challenged. Because I watched you help a white woman earlier. You brought her multiple options, offered styling suggestions, never once mentioned the price or questioned whether she could afford anything. But with me, price was the first thing you brought up, followed by return policies and budget concerns. Victoria had no response because they both knew it was true. The behavioral difference was stark, undeniable, captured in the contrast between how she'd engaged with different customers. Imani carefully removed the jacket, handing it back to Victoria. Thank you for your time, she said with quiet dignity. I think I've seen everything I needed to see here. As she walked toward the exit, Victoria called after her, desperation creeping into her voice. Please, I truly didn't mean any offense. If you'd like to make a purchase, I'd be happy to. I'm sure you would, Imani said without turning back. But I'm no longer interested in shopping here today. She left the store, the bell chiming softly as the door closed behind her, leaving Victoria standing alone with the jacket and the growing realization that something had gone very wrong. What Victoria didn't know was that Imani immediately texted Stella McCartney's PR director about the experience. What she also didn't know was that the entire interaction had been captured on Imani's phone, audio recording an app she'd started using after previous discriminatory retail experiences, creating documentation for exactly these moments. 2 days later, the Sustainable Future campaign launch was held at a converted warehouse in Chelsea, transformed into an immersive exhibition of Stella McCartney's vision for ethical fashion's future. 500 industry leaders, journalists, influencers, and sustainability advocates filled the space. Victoria was among the Stella McCartney employees invited to attend the launch, a privilege extended to flagship store staff to celebrate the campaign they'd be promoting. She arrived dressed in her best Stella McCartney pieces, excited to be part of such a significant moment for the brand. The lights dimmed and Stella McCartney herself took the stage, her presence commanding immediate attention. Thank you all for being here tonight. We're not just launching a campaign. We're making a commitment to a different kind of future for fashion. The screen behind her lit up with the campaign video, featuring Imani in various settings, wearing pieces from the Sustainable collection, speaking passionately about the need for systemic change in the fashion industry. She was articulate, powerful, wearing the bio-fabricated wool jacket Victoria had shown her just 2 days earlier. Victoria felt a jolt of recognition but assumed it was coincidence. A jacket similar to the one in the store, worn by someone who happened to look like her difficult customer. Then Imani appeared on stage in person, wearing that same jacket, and the resemblance became unmistakable. Victoria's stomach dropped. Imani Carter isn't just the face of this campaign, Stella McCartney explained to the audience. She's the voice of a generation demanding better. She's an activist who's built a platform calling out greenwashing and holding brands accountable. She embodies the values we've championed for over 20 years. The audience applauded as Imani spoke about sustainable fashion, about the power of consumer choice, about the bio-fabricated materials that could replace environmentally destructive production methods. Then the tone shifted. Imani's expression became more serious. But I want to share something that happened 2 days ago, she said. I visited the Soho flagship store to experience this jacket in person. I was excited, honored to represent a brand I respect. But what I experienced there was a reminder that even in progressive spaces, bias persists. Victoria's blood turned to ice. The screen behind Imani switched to audio waveforms as a recording began to play. Victoria's voice, clear and undeniable. "This jacket is $4,800. We get a lot of younger customers who come in to photograph pieces for social media. Our return policy is quite strict. Younger customers often experience buyer's remorse. $4,800 is typically beyond what most people in their 20s can comfortably afford." The audience shifted uncomfortably. Some pulled out phones to record. The moment was transforming from celebration to confrontation. The sales associate assumed I couldn't afford this jacket. Imani continued, her voice steady but emotional. She questioned my intentions, suggested I was there for Instagram photos rather than serious shopping, and repeatedly emphasized the price as if preparing me for disappointment. All before knowing anything about me except what she saw, a young black woman in casual clothes. Stella McCartney's expression showed controlled fury. She stepped forward, reclaiming the microphone. That sales associate was immediately suspended when we learned of this incident. As of this morning, her employment with our company has been terminated. A murmur went through the crowd. Victoria, standing at the back of the room, felt the world collapsing around her. People nearby had begun to recognize her, whispers spreading, phones turning in her direction. But terminating one employee isn't enough, Stella McCartney continued. This incident revealed gaps in our training, in our culture, in how we think about who our customer is. Imani's experience is unacceptable, and it's a betrayal of everything this brand stands for. She outlined immediate changes: comprehensive bias training for all retail staff, mystery shopper programs specifically designed to identify discriminatory behavior, partnership with diversity consultants to overhaul hiring and training practices, and a public commitment to transparent reporting on these efforts. Sustainable fashion isn't just about environmental responsibility, Stella McCartney said. It's about human dignity. It's about creating systems where everyone is valued, where assumptions don't determine who deserves respect. Imani was subjected to treatment that should never happen in any of our stores, to any customer, for any reason. The audience applauded, but the atmosphere was heavy with the weight of accountability. After the presentation, Victoria tried to leave quietly, but journalists had already identified her. Her photo was online within minutes. The audio recording went viral within hours. Hashtag Stella McCartney incident and hashtag Imani Carter trended globally. Victoria's termination became a case study in retail discrimination. Major fashion publications ran features on bias in luxury retail. Other brands rushed to review their own practices, terrified of becoming the next viral scandal. But the lasting impact was Imani's voice. Her handling of the situation, documenting the discrimination, using the platform of the campaign launch to address it, and advocating for systematic change rather than just individual punishment, became a blueprint for holding brands accountable. 3 months later, Stella McCartney's retail staff completed the most comprehensive anti-bias training program in the luxury fashion industry. Mystery shopper data showed dramatic improvements in how diverse customers were treated, and Imani's campaign became one of the most successful in the brand's history, resonating precisely because it stood for something beyond fashion. Victoria's LinkedIn profile disappeared. Her fashion career ended. But more importantly, her story became a warning. In an age where every interaction can be documented, where accountability is public and permanent, bias has consequences that can't be hidden or excused. And Imani continued her work, using her platform to demand better, to call out injustice, and to prove that sustainable fashion meant sustaining human dignity as much as protecting the planet. Sometimes justice requires using your voice when you've been silenced. Sometimes it requires documenting discrimination so it can't be denied. And sometimes the person you dismiss as not belonging becomes the person who transforms an entire industry's understanding of who deserves respect.